Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. My name is Theo Gilbert, Professor Theo Gilbert. I work for CASE, the Centre for Academic Skills Enhancement, and we are there to help you with your academic skills. One of the most important of those is how you're going to work in teams, because teams are going to be very much a feature of the workplace when you get into the workplace. And many of the top employers are saying they really want graduates with great teamwork skills and great communication skills. So let's see if we can help you with those, because if you have a happy team experience, you're very likely to have some good outcomes too. Let's have a look. So I'm going to share for a minute and give you a few tips that I hope will be helpful. Here we are. Top skills for high performance teams. Off we go. So here we are. Now, I'm going to leave these slides at the bottom so you can sort of see the flow of logic here. But what I wanted to say to you, first of all, is that you have been developing as a fantastic teamwork, you and your colleagues, for the last 2.4 to 3 million years ago. Why? Because there was a climate change. There have been so many. We had to come down from the trees. There was no food there anymore. We had to walk on two legs, bipeds, and we had to start hunting meat. Now, if you have a look at these animals, who was going to be able to bring down an animal like this alone? These were dangerous times, so we had to work in teams. Evolution worked really hard to make sure that, as Darwin says, we could be the fittest to each new change in the environment. That's what Darwin meant. So we needed to have a lot more muscles in our faces so that we could have lots of facial expressions, and the whites of our eyes, unlike dogs, horses or monkeys, need to stay white so that we can warn each other from a distance in hunting teams of danger or opportunity. All this made us great team workers. Language developed very quickly. We needed to communicate with each other. We needed to make sure that everybody got home safely at night so that we could live another day, us and our group, when we were hunter-gatherers. So our brain was developing for this over literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. Yep, you were developed to be a fantastic team worker. So I'm going to show you what that actually meant to get teams home safely over all those years, all those thousands of generations. We each needed to be able to notice, not normalize, not overlook, not miss distress or disadvantaging or harm to coming to ourselves or to ourselves or others. That's not an emotion. You don't need an emotion for that. And then, because that's vigilance, we've got to watch carefully, interpret, and analyze what's the situation, constantly alert. So that was the first thing we had to do. And the second thing was to do something wise about it. So no point in rushing into impulsive action. Experience builds up and we know what to do, but it's all decision-making and problem solving. It's not an emotion needed here. This actually that you're looking at, my friends, is the definition of compassion. Oh, there are lots and lots of definitions of compassion. But if we look at compassion in teams, according to neuroscientists, educational psychologists, clinical psychologists, group psychotherapists, this is the one empirically based understanding of compassion that you can get these days, and it's also mirrored in the workings of the Compassion Center in Stanford University. There are an army of neuroscientists and clinical psychologists now specializing in compassion, looking into the brain, the neural pathways of compassion, and finding that this is how it works in practical senses, and it's not in emotion. So this is what we see. This particular definition of compassion is exactly what underpins how these teams work. And these teams work. And these teams work, and look at them. They're all about keeping each other and us safe. And it turns out that psychological safety, feeling safe in a team, is the key to letting everybody think freely, get the best ideas into the team. But when we sit down in our team meetings, we've got a couple of problems that also come from the development of our brains from all those years of being in a dangerous state. And that is when when we are in a competitive, individualistic environment like education and HE, got to be number one, got to be number one. Everybody's teaching you got to have self-esteem. Please don't listen to that. Self-esteem means measuring yourself against everybody else in some aspect of your personal performance. It is not as useful at all as self-compassion, speaking to yourself kindly, breathing out more slowly than you breathe in when you're stressed and anxious. Thinking about something you're really grateful for, a person or a friend or a situation or an animal when you're really, really stressed. All these things are about self-compassion. Self-esteem means you can never relax and you can't sustain that. You can't be the best all the time. So please don't think about that toxic, poisonous concept too much. Think more about self-compassion. How are we going to be compassionate to others when we have two problems that come from the overstimulation of our brains to have to perform and outdo everybody else? Oh dear. Two behaviors will come up in teamwork because of that problem. Again and again and again. Hundreds of students have told us these are the two problems that really upset the dynamics, the interaction, the progress, and the outcomes of teamwork. And they are these. Have a look, have a look. In many teams, there will often be somebody, when the team sits down to speak, it's the team meetings that are really important. That's where all the magic happens for the decision making and who's going to do what and who's going to help who. Two behaviors will really spoil this process, and that is the behavior of the person who is talking so much that they are kind of dominating, and it means that other people can't get much chance to speak. And the other one is the people who don't speak very much. Now, remember, this is coming from the results of a highly competitive environment in politics, in media, in education, in business. So nobody is to blame. This is very, very important. Nobody is to blame, but we're all responsible for doing something about it. So let's just think about this. One of the golden rules is when you're in a team, please look at everybody. Every time you open your mouth to speak, please look at everybody in your team as they sit around you. 4 is a very good number for a team. As they sit around you, look at everybody. Make sure you can look at everybody as you speak, even if you just say maybe sometimes. So you're looking at everybody as though they were a single organism. Imagine that you're at Wimbledon and you're looking at everybody. Two things are happening here, very, very important. First of all, it turns out from Neuron, Del Monte et al. Have found there are 4 areas in the brain which hold neurons, accommodate neurons, whose only purpose is to extract meaning from social gaze. So when you remember this golden rule and you include everybody in your eye contact like this, then that means they are realizing that you are interested in their opinion. And this helps to equalize participation. Vertigo et al., 2002-2003. It helps to equalize participation when each person in the group thinks the person speaking is looking at them, which you are. Well done. The other thing is that you are reading them with all these neurons we didn't even know about 18 months ago. All these neurons are trying to extract me who are reading, who's engaged, who wants to say something, who's looking a bit depressed today. So there's a lot of communication happening. This is very, very important. Now, monopolizer has a lot of difficulty doing with this. And one of the reasons of doing that, and one of the reasons is that monopolizers are often the most anxious person in the group. This is why there's no blame. The most anxious person in the group is from the threat system. So we've got quiet students, freeze or flight, run away from the threat system, or we've got monopolizers trying to fight the situation, take control. What are we going to do? Well, if you are in a group, you will often find that the monopolizer will lock eye contact with just one person. Just one person. Is it you? Have you been chosen to be a partner in crime and exclude the others? It's not their fault, but you've got to help them. What can you do? This is what you can try, because it works very, very well, because of that very sensitive visual field that we humans have. You look at the monopolizer. It's not their fault, remember. Don't continue to be a partner in crime though. And you're going to break eye contact with them gently. Your face is soft and friendly. The muscles are relaxed and friendly. And you just channel their eye contact. Say to Keisha here. Then you come back and check with them and channel their eye contact here. Because, you know, when we came down from the trees, remember the whites of our eyes? We will follow this. We will follow this. This is a big disruptor and it works really, really well. You can't do this online though, can you? But what you can do is, let's imagine Ben is monopolizing. When Ben takes a breath, slip in like a little fish, and say, Ben, in a warm voice, Ben, that point you made about is crucial, it's critical, it's relevant, it's interesting, whatever you want to say. You are validating, you are encouraging and validating, you are putting at ease this monopolizing behavior so that people don't feel so threatened, don't feel they have to carry on dominating the conversation. Ben, that's a really important point you've made there, because, give your reason, because, and then in the same breath, maybe turn to Keisha. Maybe Ben has interrupted her 3 times. Try not to intervene, to make a difference to her experience too late now, but turn to her also and say in the same breath, Keisha, would you like to add something to the conversation? Would you like to say, Keisha, remember yesterday in the canteen you were talking about this, and it was so interesting. We need that now. Keisha, can you come in? In other words, everybody in your team, please learn. It is your duty, your responsibility, your honor, and your joy to make sure that the quiet students are pulled out of the cold, dark water and onto the boat, because they often have very important things to say. Very important things to say. And we can see this sometimes. The quiet students in the seminar and the tutorial who don't say anything are actually writing the best essays and reports. So please bring them in by any means you can. That soft, gentle voice. Keep inviting. Hold the door open for them. Hold the door open for them. The monopolizers will learn to be more concise. They will learn to be more concise. But what if the quiet student, is now too nervous and can't speak? All he or she has to do is this. That's it. But we would suggest, if you're a quiet student, simply to ask somebody by name in the group, Ahmed, can you help me out, please? And what if, this is very interesting, we find that if Ahmed is even shyer than you, and when we interview quiet students in groups, they often tell us that they are afraid of making a fool of themselves, that they won't get the one right answer, they won't say the right thing, or that other people can speak more convincingly than them, so they haven't confidence. So if Keisha asks Ahmed, who's really shy, to help her, Ahmed, please help me out, she says. Well done, Keisha. What's going to happen? We are seeing again and again that the shy students who are asked for help, who are so afraid of making fools of themselves, forget all that. They have one mission, and that is to help, You wonderful students, you will sacrifice yourselves, we see it again and again, to help somebody else. That is your strength. That is what our brain was designed for over 2 to 3 million years. So let's just have a look now at some more tips. So inclusive eye contact for everybody in the meeting. So get your cameras on. Please get your cameras on, because if somebody is frightened of having to make a presentation or something, and they see you there nodding, encouraging, remember they're reading you in ways, very, very detailed ways. They're reading your encouragement. It means so much to students who say, even the shy students put their cameras on. I was so grateful. It helped me so much. It really encouraged me. So please do this. You are so brave and so courageous. Please make sure you do this. Standard English for international students, number 2, guys. Please don't be using colloquialisms and idioms and expressions that are not standard English, because that won't work in the workplace either for your international workplace. Silences. Don't worry about having to jump into silences to fill them. Silences are good because the group is breathing and thinking. That's fine. A reasonable silence. Just let the shy students come in. The international students come in. Well done. Well done. And next, not normalizing seeing others talked over. Now, let's imagine Keisha's been cut off by Ben. We know what to do about that. We do know what to do about that. So everybody responsible when you're sitting in a team together in a room for making sure that that student gets chances to speak and for disrupting gently, never humiliating or patronizing the monopolizers such as Ben. Bringing others into the discussion by tone and name. Remember, Keisha, would you like to add something there? The tone and the name, very important for everybody in your team. Letting people stay out of the discussion when they need to. We've talked about that. Thanking each other. Sometimes somebody will get quite nervous and talking a lot, and sometimes to thank them. Thank you, Ben. That's a really, really good point. And then going on, we talked about that too. These are very powerful things. And quite often, if you look at these, you don't have to say anything. Checking your own as others' body as well as others' body language, for example. Are you are you making sure that you're giving them all your attention? When anybody speaks, you give them all your attention. And Google spent $5 million on finding that that was the top key feature of their best teams out of 180 teams. They did also find that in highly paid teams of experts, those teams didn't achieve very much. The New York Times reported that they hobbled each other's intelligence. Quote, why? Because they were all monopolizers. They were all monopolizers. So check your own as well as others' body language, okay? And and work with those who haven't preferred. So the body language, you can see the nervousness and the anxiety, the animation sometimes with people. You talk and talk and talk. Sometimes very shy students will talk and talk and talk with their heads down. Please encourage them to look at you even a little bit. Our neurodiverse students who are uncomfortable with eye contact are becoming so brave, so strong at this, much better. And they are seeing, one of the reasons is because they're seeing you beautiful, beautiful teams, encouraging them, encouraging them. These are the rules that our brain has been used to, developing and growing in neural networks for many, many hundreds of years, thousands, millions of years, actually. It's only in the last 15 years that we started to lose this. And there's a reason for that. That's because of agriculture. We settled down to agriculture. We were then able to control each other's supply of food. This is not a good thing. We didn't share so much. There was consumerism, trade, the haves, the have-nots, the rich, the poor. So a lot of things happened with the development of cities around agriculture, but that is only very recent. Working with others, number 10, working with those who haven't prepared for the work for the meeting. Maybe their mother's been diagnosed, been told she's very ill with something. You never know. So 2 people in your group, 2 people, help them to do their research. Don't do it for them, but just help them if you possibly can. Does that make any sense, guys? This is now being used, where Case is now being asked to work for teams that are now much, much more effective because we have taught them these skills at their invitation. I'm talking about the Home Office, the National Crime Agency, the police, hospitals, safeguarding teams. The HR department of another university is using this now. So if you can put on your CVs that you can lead teams from behind, like Nelson Mandela, if you can put on your CV, no, don't put that, but if you can put on your CVs that you are very keen on building inclusivity in teamwork, that's going to be a big hit on your CV. There's going to be a big hit on your CV with employers. I will leave you with that now. I do hope this has been useful to you. Just remember, none of this requires any emotion. Be careful. Emotions can derail what you're trying to do. It's no good. The police or fire officers are running away in tears. No, they've got to depend on their training to do exactly the right thing. This is all you need to do as well. Make a big, big difference. A big, big difference. Just a little bit. If you just want to read something, have a little read about from a monopolizer who was in literature. This is what she thought. She liked to talk, and she said, if people don't want to talk, that's their business. I want to talk. Have a read. For those who might have visual problems, I'll read with you. And you realize, well, no, we're also responsible for making sure other people have things to say and want to talk. So let's go to a business student. We were analyzing. I know I was. I was like watching each other. What's the body language? Very, very, very smart business student there. And here, for the shy students, when they were examined on this, along with research and criticality in a group discussion rather than an essay, which can be written by ChatGTP. So some staff are assessing this with research and critical thinking. And we're seeing that the critical thinking marks are getting really, really quite high now, even for students who are not doing well on their essays, because everybody's working on giving each other a reason to feel safe enough to venture their ideas in ways they may not have been able to before. So here we are. Here's a shy student. This is what he said about his exam. I felt not as one person, but I felt as a person within an entity. The entity was my group. Like we're all focused on it. No one person has to carry all the responsibility or blame if anything goes wrong. We're all working together. Fantastic results in that team as well. And that's very good, because we in this factory of education, of competitive individualism, people, we do become afraid of coming out of our comfort groups, our own friends. Have a look at this. This student is so honest. When I go into seminars, I find any other Muslim people there. Most of the others, I'm probably not going to talk to them, to be honest. That's fear and anxiety. But she had missed the workshop. She had missed this advice on how to work in teams. But the team that she was sent to did understand how to welcome her. Remember, analyzing. So people are really watching out for her welfare. So there you are. So I was thinking, oh my God, what if no one talks to me? But as soon as I got into a group, I was fine. I was fine. We got into the discussion. It flowed really well. And she moved from team to team every week, and she was fine. And this student here, if I can just tell you a little bit more about this student, she said that she had been in her room very often, not coming to tutorials or business school seminars because nobody talked to her and she didn't talk to them, and then realized that these students had been with her for the past 2 semesters in seminar and tutorial rooms, and they were all her friends. She'd been surrounded by her friends, but had felt so lonely. So let's go back again. We've talked about... We've talked about Google and how they spent their $5 million on knowing what you know now. All you need to do is this. Have a think about this. What do I do in this teamwork to develop my fellow students' social and learning experiences that they most value in me? What do my fellow students do in this teamwork to develop my social and learning experiences that I most value in them? Please notice that, because it will pump you up. It will pump up your confidence. There is nobody like you. You are irreplaceable. The universe can never get you into the world as you are now. And your contribution is so valuable. You just can't imagine how valuable it is. So here we are. And this is why this work is being used. And you can take it into the workplace too. You'll be managers too one day, helping your team work together. This is why this is being used now in the Home Office, for the police and the police committees and things, and hospitals. This is why. Look at this from a computer science student whose team was doing this as well, working this way. I was worried, being the oldest person and the only non-native English person, having 10 years of working experience with people from different cultures and backgrounds. So 10 years in the workplace. I never found it as smooth as this time. Here in the university, with its compassionate team communications, outside of university, we're still hanging out together. It works, it works, it works. It's very powerful stuff because your brain design is going to help you through this. It's been built just for that. If you're interested in a bit more reading, here is some. I'm sure you're very, very busy at the moment and may not have time, but please do remember these skills if you can and try and explain them to your team as soon as you meet. Because if things go wrong in the first meeting and somebody takes over, don't blame them, but you've got a real problem. And it will mean that the shy people withdraw more and more and more. Take care for now, everybody. Thank you so much for coming in. Good luck, good luck, good luck on your business degrees and with looking after yourselves, not self-esteem, self-compassion, and each other. All the best from Case.